want to talk a little bit about Dereck Chisora and his departure from Box Nation, or with Frank Warren. And while Del Boy has given us some exciting nights, I still believe, in my personal opinion, he's been badly mismanaged. If not badly mismanaged, then badly advised. I want to take it from the point of where he lost his first fight to Tyson Fury. Okay, Tyson Fury is yet to be beaten, and he's now fighting Vladimir Klitschko. So we'll leave that to one side. After the fight against against Fury, he then went on and fought. Well, I won't pronounce the guy's name, but he had 43 losses on his record. Dereck Chisora went to points with him. We'll say, okay, he was just getting back into the groove of things. Then he fought Robert Helenius, a fight which I believe Chisora clearly won. So he was European champion at that point. So then he went on to fight Vitaly Klitschko. At that point, Dereck Chisora, when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, I think he had, 15 fights? Fighting the heavyweight champion of the world and possibly one of the greatest heavyweight champions of the modern era. So he goes to points against Vitaly Klitschko. So you lose against Vitaly Klitschko in a gallant effort. So what you going to do next? You go and fight David Haye. You get knocked out by David Haye, possibly one of the best cruiserweights again, and a good punching heavyweight, and a reigning at one point heavyweight champion of the world. Then he goes on and fights Alvia in a fight again that, absolutely boring fight with Derek and Guy should have really taken care of, and suddenly comes to life in the 9th round. Then he fights Malik Scott, light punching, but a good fight against Malik Scott, against an unbeaten heavyweight who's a bit of a mover. Good fight. Then he fights Gerber. We see in that fight the Dereck Chisora that his chin is, maybe not as solid as it might have been previously. Being rocked by Gerber and Parler. Fights Kevin Johnson. Beats Kevin Johnson, who was demotivated. Now he's on a little winning run to fight Tyson Fury again. And basically a poor performance against Fury. Comes back and has a knockout against a guy in the first round. Everyone raves about how Dereck Chisora looks great. And then he fights Nascimento in a 10-round point decision, which was pretty embarrassing. Changes trainers. But look, Dereck Chisora's career, for me, is about opportunities. And I think that having met Dereck Chisora, having been literally in the same room as him at times, and I remember one particular point where myself and Don Charles drove with Dereck to the final workout with him at Blue Water when he was about to fight David Haye. And he was very confident he was going to beat David Haye. And I think that fight against David Haye really took a lot of Dereck Chisora's mojo away from him. Dereck Chisora, for me, I've always felt could have been a better fighter than he was. But I think that his character, his slapping of Vitaly Klitschko, his outside of the ring antics has caused him to be a well talked about heavyweight. I have to say that eventually one day people will talk about the Vitaly Klitschko fight with Dereck Chisora, and there's more to that than people are aware of, and I hope I won't say anything because I don't think it's my place to say things, but there's definitely more about that fight than people are aware of. I'm sure at some point it will come out. Now, why he slapped Vitaly Klitschko and why he slapped Vladimir Klitschko, Dereck Chisora has vented his frustration as to what was going on in the dressing room. Now, I have to say that if we go back and look at fights with Dereck Chisora, let's look after the Fury fight. So, did Frank Warren want to get rid of Dereck Chisora a lot sooner? Well, Robert Helenius fight. Robert Helenius was 16-0 at the time, unbeaten, and he was knocking everybody out. He was knocking people left, right, and centre out. And a lot of people said Helenius would have knocked Chisora out in a couple of rounds. In the first round, Helenius stunned Chisora. Helenius got beat by Chisora, out-fought, out-hustled. Chisora should have been European champion. I don't think Frank Warren actually thought that Chisora was going to beat Helenius. So that was a fight that I thought that Chisora, if you look at it that way, that Warren probably could have washed his hands of him then. Then he fought Vitaly Klitschko. He went 12 rounds with Klitschko. So then, okay, does a good fight against Klitschko. So maybe this guy's better than, and maybe first look, let's see what he does against Hay. Gets sparked by Hay. Then he has some, medium fights or, fights that can get his reputation back up. Tough fight against Malik Scott. That could have been the end of him there. Gerber, Parler, Johnson, Chisora won there. Back in with Tyson Fury. And then the 2 fights after that. I mean, to me, it looks... The impression I got was like Frank Warren wanted to get rid of Dereck Chisora a lot sooner. Now, behind the scenes, I also heard that Dereck Chisora was looking for other promoters and looking for other opportunities, maybe possibly to leave Frank Warren. I don't know. I don't know the truth, whether it was the case that Warren wanted to get rid of Chisora. It looks like from the outside, but I don't have all the facts and all the figures. I don't know. Now he's gone with his new trainer. I think Dereck Chisora, for me, I've said this before. Some fighters, they get into having a family life, i.e. having a child, and they want to settle down. They don't have the same motivation to get out and fight. I suspect this is the case since Dereck's had his daughter. Maybe he wants to just be a family man now. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to settle down, and the motivation probably isn't there no more to fight. And he's fighting for money as opposed to actually fighting for glory. Maybe he's given up on his old dream of becoming heavyweight champion of the world. And if that's the case, then, Dereck is where he is. And, lack of motivation, not up for the big fights, for these medium fights, and wants to fight big fights. I mean, there was a time he was rumoured to fight Povetkin. There was a fight of him against Ustinov. I mean, I watched him spar Ustinov, and that was no easy sparring session. Ustinov was putting Dereck against the ropes at times and really giving him a real hard sparring session. And this was just very close to the fight where he was to fight Fury. And I was there when he injured his hand against Ustinov. So, Dereck Chisora, I think, is a fighter that... the impression of Dereck, I have to speak straight words here. As much as I like Dereck, his behaviour at times, I've always felt that, he's always... I don't know if he really... I don't know. Hard to say, because I like Dereck, but to speak straight words, he does give the impression of being very hard to work with, and a man that wants to do things his own way. And I suspect now, where he's with this new trainer, he's doing things his own way. And as you saw in the last fight, doing things your own way. You saw he came in my mind, overweight, not as dedicated, and then couldn't get rid of Nascimento, which he should have done. It was a shocking performance. But I don't know. I think Dereck Chisora has finished at world level, in my opinion. But having said that, I would like to see him fight Deontay Wilder and see if he can get inside of Wilder and let his hands go. But, the fact that he said in an interview that he's looking for the big money, which I understand. I don't know who's going to take him on. Maybe he'll move over to Matchroom. Who knows? But to me, I think Dereck Chisora's finished at the highest level. And a lot of people say Dereck Chisora's a journeyman. But I think, you fight tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. This is what happens when you get put in with all these tough fights all the time and your fight's not managed correctly. And that's what I think he was just putting in a lot of hard fights very early in his career. And much like George Groves, now he's got 3 defeats on his record. I don't know. What can you say? Those are my thoughts. I'd like to know what you guys think. I'm out. Take care.